that I'd have to introduce myself to, but most of you know me, so it's okay. Thank you for coming to the next GCB event. When the GCB was first thought about, discussed, it was all about bringing really cool people into a circle, and we're really thankful that everyone can be here today. You're all part of our family, and it should be a wicked day. We've got some fantastic food, great cigars, there's so much alcohol, so we'll try and keep you as sober as possible for as long as possible. But I'm going to do a quick butchery demonstration on one of Ed's lambs. So this was a lamb that was here until last week. It's a really nice hogget. So for those of you who don't know much about lamb between 4 and about 10 months. 10 to 14 is classed as hogget, anything over 14 is classed as mutton. So this is a slightly older lamb. It's a little bit on the small side, which is why we've chosen this one for a demonstration, because it's not got a hell of a lot of meat on it. But yeah, any questions while I'm cutting, I'll try and explain what I'm doing in as much detail as possible, but please just keep shouting out questions. So, this lamb's been dry aged for about 6-7 days now. Without wishing to get too graphic, dry aging the meat is really, really important. So when we've got a body that's killed, with the greatest of respect, rigor mortis kicks in, which is why things go really, really hard. On something the size of a cow, you need about 30 to 40 days for that to disappear. In a lamb, you're looking at about a week. So really nice, dry bark, not sticky, not wet. That's what you're looking for when you're choosing a good lamb. Any questions so far? Good, fantastic. So, when we're looking at a lamb, main primals, legs, you've got your loin, which is your chops, your best end, which is your neck cuts or rack of lamb, shoulders and neck. So the first thing we do is just rip off your belly, nice and easy like so.
Not for you.
So breast of lamb, really, really good for mince, burgers, kofta kebabs. In the winter we roll them with some nice stuffing, anything like that, which will give a really, really fantastic flavour. Lots of fat, generally quite tough. Wants a nice slow cook if you're going to cook it like that, okay?
How long, sorry, did you say how long you aged it for?
This is about 6-7 days.
Right.
About perfect on a lamb. Any more than that, it's going to start to deteriorate and get a bit sticky. Any less than that, and you've still got rigor mortis. So yeah. Next, we're going to take off what we call the legs with the chumps. So this will have the rump attached to it. We don't need a saw for this bit.
I saw Mike.
Cool. Grab it in a minute. Perfect. So, take this out of the way for a second.
Come on.
So, legs, perfect for steaks, perfect for roasts, anything like that. But yeah, really, really good versatile cuts. So all we're going to do is take the rump bone out to start off with. Nice and easy. Like so. Again, keep shouting out questions because this can take a while.
What was his name?
This one?
What was his name?
So you have to ask Ed or his mum.
I was called Mike.
I hope so.
How long have you been butchering for, Mike?
22 years this year.
Yeah.
I started when I was 12. It was my dad's way of inspiring me to work hard at school.
Nice.
Thus I left school.
Did you inspire you work hard at school?
I don't know how many of you know me, but that's pretty much the way my life's gone. But yeah.
Is lamb your favourite meat?
Beef is what I specialise in. Hence, later on we're eating some of the best beef in the world, the Japanese Wagyu.
Nice.
But this is lamb, my second favourite, definitely.
What's your favourite cut of meat?
Cut of meat, ribeye.
Ribeye, yes.
Nice
Yeah,
marbling,
ribeye,
loads of
yeah,
fat,
definitely.
easy peasy. So, when we have our leg, we've got the rump, we've got 3 main muscles in the leg, silver side, top side and the bed, and then we've got our shank. So again, shank, super easy to cook, long, slow, really good with mint, rosemary, those sorts of flavour combinations. All we're doing is just taking that off like so. So that's your basic lamb shank that you get anywhere else. Okay, so to take the rump off, we've got a little bit of fillet in here, which if you know a butcher, that's the best part of the lamb. Exactly that. We don't sell very many of them, funnily enough. But then you've got the rump. So when you see it in a restaurant, it'll be called a square cut rump, and will be something like so. So, score the fat, rub salt, rosemary, thyme, a little bit of olive oil, fry it fat side down until the fat's rendered down, stick it in the oven for about 12 minutes, and you've got a perfect little meal. Really, really good. Then when we look at our leg, we're just going to quickly bone this out because this one's going on the green egg shortly.
So I do lamb rare then, yeah?
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. Any red meat can be cooked, anything over 55 degrees is generally okay. Again, with lamb, because it's got that little bit more fat in the middle, you want to take it to maybe 61, 62 degrees. And that just means that you'll get a nice even flavour and you're not going to get hard bits of fat in the middle and gristle. So again, when it comes to butchery, don't leave meat on your bones.
Cleaner a bone, the better the butcher.
So I've heard. So yes. So again, all the trimmings will go into sausages. I make 150 different flavours of sausages between the lamb, pork and beef. Lots of different variations on that, which is good fun. But yeah, I'll make about 20 different flavours of lamb sausage. So that is a butterflied leg of lamb. So again, laid nice and flat, so it's all the same thickness all the way through. So when we're cooking, it's all going to cook at the same temperature, same speed. Okay? Any questions? No?
How many of them do you butcher a day?
I don't do many anymore. The guys do a lot.
Become the boss now.
Yeah, exactly that. But yeah, back in the day we'd go through 5-6 lambs a day, quite happily. But yeah, it's
What was the name of this one?
Mike.
Yes. I was just checking it wasn't the land's one.
that's it. So next we're going to take off the kidneys.
Got to
Okay.
go around, Mike.
Kidneys, fantastic source of iron. Really good for breakfast. Lots and lots of really fun devil's kidneys, those sorts of things you can do. Steak and kidney pudding, steak and kidney pies, all that sort of stuff. Again, the most underutilised offal at the moment. Everyone's getting back into the liver hype, but not many people on kidneys.
So when you butcher it, skin it and gut it, you take everything else out but leave the kidneys in?
Kidneys will stay in, yeah. Liver, anything like that needs to come out straight away because as rigor mortis hits in, they tend to turn pretty quickly. So when you're aging it, you don't want to be leaving those there.
Why do you leave the kidneys in?
Why? It's just the way it's always been done.
Right.
They tend to hold longer and better than anything else,
Right.
which is why we keep them there. So, just going to quickly trim these up. Again,
What about the other parts of him, like the brain, for example, and lungs?
great
heart?
question. So lungs, esophagus, stomach, anything like that can be used. Since BSE in 2003, any lamb or beef head has to be dyed blue and put in a bin not for human consumption. So yeah, you used to find, especially on the continent, lamb's head was a delicacy. Lamb's cheeks, all that sort of stuff is non-existent in this country anymore. Everything is imported. So there you Barnsley chops. Again, nice double, thick chops, super easy to cook. Cut them in half. If you've ever heard of lamb noisette, it's just this piece of sirloin here. So you've got the fillet underneath. Again, on this is not huge. But yeah, a really nice way of rolling that, boneless, super easy to cook. Roast them, stuff them, all sorts of fun stuff. But yeah. Hi friends.
It's very soft.
So on a lamb, we cut down between the 6th and 7th bone, and that generally allows us to miss the shoulder blade, which is connecting the shoulder to the best end neck. So get to the joint here. So, still got our wings on, but that is your best end neck. Okay, so we French trim these, take all the meat off the bones. That would be your rack of lamb, crown roast, all that sort of stuff. Again, these traditionally were a lot cheaper than your loin chops. The restaurants have made it so that these are now more expensive. So yeah, you'll pay probably another 20% of these than you would for your loin chops, even though these have got less meat on them.
They're the ones that come out with little hats on.
Yeah, little hats, the ones that you eat like a lollipop. Again, lots and lots of fashion, but they've got less meat. They have a little bit more flavour, but again, what do you pay for, right? So that's the next thing. Then we'll just quickly take off the shoulder. So, bear with me 2 seconds.
does it take to get competent for butchery?
Good question. You can do an apprenticeship in 6 months or 2 years. It's another 5 before you're deemed a butcher. Again, constantly learning. There are I know 45 different ways to cut up a cow, about 20 different ways to cut up a lamb. It's then learning all of your muscle structures, all of your tendons.
What about humans?
Humans, I haven't started on those yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're an apprentice in humans.
That's it, yeah. I'll always be an apprentice in humans, I think. We'll see.
Do you cut along? It's always along bones.
Generally, there's 2 different types of butchery. One is seam butchery, so where 2 muscles meet, you'll have a little bit of collagen, you can take that. But the bones is generally the best way to get the cleanest cuts. So, again, just removing the excess fat always.
Do you use the marrow from lamb bones the same way you would with beef or
It's
not?
not a great deal, is
not,
it?
no.
Again, lamb bone's really, really good for making soups and stocks. But as far as actually the marrow, there's just not enough of it.
No.
You'd have to do 500 kilos worth of bones to
right.
get 500 grams.
Is that the same with the hooves for making gelatin and things like that?
Yeah, again, lamb hooves are massively popular in the Asian market, not so popular in the English market anymore. Again, fantastic flavour. I love them. I think they're phenomenal. But so that's your basic lamb shoulder. Again, a little bit smaller for this one. This is your neck fillet. So this is your main muscle out the shoulder. This is what we would use for stew, diced, all that sort of stuff. The rest of this, I would either turn into a cushion, so we'll bone it out and roll it in a circular, and then marinate it in, again, lemon, thyme, rosemary, garlic, all that sort of stuff. Same flavour combos with everything. And again, slow roast. You've got lots of fat, lots of connective tissue in here. If you fast roast it, it's going to be chewy as an arsehole. So really let this relax. And with anything, if you're ever looking for cooking advice, my biggest advice would be take everything out of the oven 30 minutes before you're ready to eat it. Let it rest. Right? When meat cooks, everything tightens up. Let it relax, and you'll have a far better eating experience. Less
Is that
hungry.
same for like a kind of steak or?
Exactly the same mistakes. So I will always cook a steak. If I cook it for 6 minutes, I'll rest it for 6 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, the same time you cook it for, you rest it for. With a big tomahawk, I'll cook that on a barbecue for about 40 minutes, and again 40 minutes of resting just under foil. So yeah.
You're talking about like connective tissue and muscle and stuff
Mhm.
a lot. Is part of your like learning? Do you have to actually learn like a lot of anatomy, muscle
100%.
structure, that sort of
Yeah,
stuff?
basic
It's not just
biologists.
learning how to cut.
I know a lot of surgeons who come in and work with us,
Oh, really?
learning how to take things apart.
Right.
The only difference is we don't have to put them back together again.
Yeah, it's no stitching up. Yeah.
We learn the same level of anatomy as most surgeons will.
Oh.
So if you've learnt the anatomy of like a lamb,
Yep.
then you know the anatomy of a cow. Are
Pretty
they
much.
built the same? Yeah.
Very, very similar. Again, there are some differences. A lot of it's to do with the size.
Yeah.
So in the shortcuts in lamb that I know I can get through a joint really quickly, if I'm working on a cow, there's no way.
Yeah.
Right? I need a saw, need a cleaver. But goats, horse, anything like that is all very, very similar. So once you get competent at one, so I start everyone on pigs because they're the cheapest.
Yeah.
And once you're good at that, we'll then move you on to lamb, then on to beef, and then all the exotic stuff, venison, all that stuff as well. But again, with venison, super, super hard bones, especially in the wild stuff. So the shortcuts you would take butchering anything else don't cut on venison. So, yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
So what kind of things do you look for in good quality cut of meat in terms of, for the layman like myself?
Yeah, great idea. So if I'm walking into a butcher's that isn't mine, the first thing you need to do is have a conversation with a
Walk
butcher.
out the door.
Immediately leave.
First thing is to have a conversation and say what's good, where's it come from. If they don't know that answer or they're clearly lying, then be very, very careful. Anything that's in plastic, vacuum packed, with a label that isn't of that butcher's, be very, very careful of because there's no provenance to it. When I'm looking at meat, I want it dry. I don't want it nice and wet. Beef shouldn't be bright red, it should have a nice brown colour to it. I want to see intramuscular fats, so marbling. So especially if I'm picking steaks, I don't want something that's lean with a load of fat around the outside because I'm never going to render all that fat down. And if it's not fatty in the middle, I'm not going to have enough flavour. So yeah, something like a sirloin doesn't interest me at all. Right, a fillet I can put a sauce with, all the rest of it. But if I'm eating steak, it's ribeye because it's got all that fat that I can render down. But yeah, other than that, it's trust. Right, finding a good butcher is difficult because there are so many people that say they do what we do and don't, which is a shame. But yeah, it's finding a good butcher is the one.
Do good butchers typically know where the meat comes from, or
I have full provenance, so I've
so
got my own
source it
farms.
directly and
Exactly that. If it's come from a slaughterhouse, I know which farm it's come from. If it's come from the London markets and all the rest of it, they'll know that, but you know, that's little bits and pieces, not everything. Again, finding provenance on every single piece of meat in a shop is really difficult, but you know, having 80%, sure. You know,
So I guess
the problem with the
important to have a good
supermarkets at the moment
relationship with
is
the farmer, I guess.
exactly that. The problem with the supermarkets at the moment is you can have a bullock in Poland, you can kill it in Poland, you can bring it over here and butcher it in England, and it's UK beef.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when you look at the supermarkets, anything like that, it's all Polish, Hungarian.
So when it says British, when it says like British
Yeah.
on there, it actually.
And they've got this really fantastic thing where they're doing Cannondale Farm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a brand. There is no Cannondale Farm. It's a conglomerate of every farm they've ever used, and they all put it in one big brand, and everyone goes, oh, they must know where it's come from. So it's all those sorts of marketing tricks that are very, very great. It works for them, but yeah, as I say, most butchers, we will take you to our farms if you're a big enough customer. Yeah, we'll show you where our lambs are kept, where our pigs are kept. I'll introduce you to the beef. I'll be able to show you the passports. So every animal comes with a passport, showing you where it was born, where it was kept, where it was moved to, and when it was slaughtered. I can give you that paperwork at any point you come into the shop.
Was Mike's paperwork all in order, or is that why he's on the table?
I don't know. Ed didn't send me the passport, unfortunately. So no problems on this one. He could have bought it off Smithfield Market. But
Do you have a single farm that you use because you know them, or do you have multiple
again,
farms?
lots and lots of relationships with lots of farmers.
Right.
Again, the pigs in Enchanted Hills done fantastically for us, but they had a massive bout of citronella, which killed about 30 of their pigs last year. So we went for a stock of 160 down to about 130-ish. So we're trying to sort of slow down on them a bit and bring in a couple of other farmers just to bump them up again. Our beef, the Jaguar, is phenomenal, but it's a little bit more expensive, so not everyone can buy that every day. So it's a Japanese Wagyu crossed with a Jersey. So we then have to look at some Herefords. And the other thing to think about with beef is there's one ribeye per side. I sell the best part of 8 ribs a day.
So you get literally one ribeye steak from.
You get
or
one
the
ribeye, so yeah,
joint,
you get 10 steaks out one side. I sell 10 of those every day. So yeah, we need to buy in other foreribs and other stuff, which is why we moved into the ex-dairy market, which is much more sustainable, and all the rest of it. But again, dry aging with beef is the one. If you don't dry age it for a minimum of 30 days, we can go up to 90 days in our dry ager. I've got a 10-ton bespoke unit, so we usually go for around 50, which gives a really nice flavour without being too cheesy and too creamy and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's really, really good.
So when you're looking to work with farmers, what's like important to you? Like,
So when I go to a farmer, I will say, I run a butcher's. I want to control everything you do on your farm for the next 2 years. I will pay 25% above market value. At the moment, if you go to a slaughterhouse with a load of pigs as a farmer, you'll be offered £5 per pig.
no wonder, yeah.
That's it.
That's it. £5 per pig. They will then sell it on to me at
How much would it cost
£150.
them to buy pigs? Well, you obviously they have to buy pigs.
To raise a pig,
them.
yeah,
But then
they'll
feed
breed
for
them
all that
and to
time,
feed them
yeah.
will cost them about 160 quid.
And they get a five of that.
They'll get a fiver for it. Yeah, which is why, since
Why no one
Brexit,
farms.
EU funding
Yeah.
and all that's ruined it. So yeah, everyone's struggling. But I will pay 25% above market value. So I will
So
pay
you
the
buy
170.
before the slaughterhouse then?
Yeah,
So,
and then I'll pay for slaughter
Right.
because they don't know it's done in my slaughterhouse.
Right.
That I go to and inspect regularly and chat with the guys and make sure they're up to our standards. But yeah, I then control what they're fed, where they're kept, you know, what they're bred with, which is the biggest thing. So we've got a really cool thing up in Norfolk at the moment where we're ultrasounding cows and then finding the most marbled and breeding those, whilst trying to keep bloodlines separated so I can't have cousins mating all the rest of it. So the spreadsheet
cousins
is
is
phenomenal. Well, yeah. Only in, where do you live, Ian? But yes, it's a lot of work that, again, most people don't have the time, inclination or effort. But we go above and beyond to make sure that we know that we're getting the very best meat. So it's really cool. Any other questions?
No.
Fantastic. Who here knows about Japanese Wagyu?
You know what it
Okay,
is.
for those that don't know,
Only what
it
you've
is
told me.
the most prestigious beef in the world. Any beef that comes from Japan is Wagyu. There are 4 breeds: a brown, a black, a short-horned, and a rolled or a polled beef. So there are 4 breeds. We have a Longhorn that we bring in from a company called Ito, or a region down in the south. They came 3rd in the Japanese Wagyu Olympics. Yeah, every year they have a full competition. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to import it and be a direct importer. So I have brought with me a considerable amount of Wagyu for everyone to get a try.
Is it true
so
that they massage them?
again, There's some fantastic rumours around Wagyu. Yes, they listen to classical music every day. Yes, they are on unlimited feed, so they can eat as much as they want, which is what gives them the monounsaturated fat. So it's a lot more healthy than British beef, which is saturated fats. But when they're talking about massaging, they're brushing them. It is bringing blood to the surface, which increases blood circulation and gives them a really healthy coat and all the rest of it. But they're not giving them a Swedish deep tissue rub down.
Other than geographic differences, what's the difference between Japanese Wagyu and, say, I've seen Australian Wagyu and all these other countries?
Yep. It's bloodline. So Matsusaku was one of the most famous bulls in Japan. His sperm, he died 12 years ago. They still have his sperm on froze.
So I like
they're
racehorses,
selling that
basically,
for £5 million of straw. Or the equivalent in the end, for one straw, which would have sold like one cow, is £5 million.
So it's a heritage thing rather than
It's
say.
bloodline, it's where it's kept, it's all those sorts of things.
Is there a technique thing where when you've got Australian Wagyu, are they treated differently in different places? Or?
They haven't got the market to, again, charge Japanese prices.
Yeah.
They'll never have the time and the money and the resources to do it Japanese way.
Yeah.
But also, you've got their feed is different, their climate's different. You know, they're producing a beef on a much bigger scale in Australia. So yes, the Australian is very, very good, but it's not monounsaturated fats. So you see a massive amount of marbling, but never to the point where it's going to be anything like the Japanese.
Where's that marbling come from then, apart from the things you've just...
So marbling is grown every day of an animal's life, right? So like me, I balloon up and then I lose weight and I balloon up, so I would have a lot of covering, right? Covering is what the fat around the edges. So that's the first thing to go. Well, marbling is the first thing to go, but growth on the outside, so covering fat is the first thing to start. So you need an animal to progressively build weight every day of its life over the 3.5 years that it's grown.
Bulking, it's always in bulking.
Exactly that. So it's for Guinness and all sorts of other bulking agents, but yeah, the moment an animal's stressed, it will lose its marbling like that.
Oh wow.
Within 3 days,
So that's the calming and shit, is the idea
classical
behind
music.
keep them calm. Okay.
The moment an animal's stressed,
That's why they keep them fast and no, without stress, huh?
exactly that.
But can that be all ruined in the killing process?
Yeah, that's the idea. They kill
That's
them.
why most of these cows, especially Japan, are grown in the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
So they're around it every day. They're not being moved on lorries. They're not being, starved for 24 hours.
Yeah.
They literally walk out of their pen, walk 200 metres down like they do 3 times a week, and this time they're gone.
So in terms of the abattoir's job, basically, you get a lot of live animals that are moved from country to country, or you get different killing techniques, say plough, for example, or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that all affect the taste, basically? Well,
It can,
Yeah.
not much. Again,
Yeah.
it's a really. I'm a halal trained butcher as well, so when you talk about halal slaughter, it's only the electrocution that's different.
yeah.
Right, so to stun an animal with 50,000 volts is probably going to make me quite stressed for a few seconds as well.
Yeah.
And without being super graphic,
Yeah.
blood loss 4 seconds, you don't feel anything anyway. So yeah, that's where it's at. So I don't have an opinion on halal slaughter being any worse. I've seen it done better because it's more respectful and they're saying prayers and they're taking their time. Whereas some slaughterhouses in England, especially down south, are just getting going.
Yeah. So it's more emphasis on the skill of the slaughter rather than the technique in some ways. Yeah.
So, I mean, outside of the Wagyu, is there any difference between, cows in different areas? Because
Every breed is different.
They're big, steak eaters out there, but they've got cows everywhere.
Exactly
Is there any
that.
difference to the flavour? Or?
Again, it's those 3 things, right? Breeding, feed, and environment. So South Africa's got a really warm climate, which means their feed's really nutrients with vitamin D and vitamin C, so that cows are a lot healthier out there. Whereas over here, if we haven't got good grass, we're pumping them up with barley and oats and all the other stuff, which is not great for them.
Right.
So yeah, it's
So technically, you probably get a better steak from South Africa than you would.
potentially, but they don't dry age as well. They don't spend as much time on their heritage and their breeding and all the rest of it. So that's why the UK have to work so hard on their breeding, is to make sure that we get the best.
Only grass fed.
No, again, only grass-fed. It's like you eating lettuce for the rest of your life. To get a balanced diet, you need barley. We use a lot of molasses for sweetness and sugars, for a bit of excitement, and a really good balanced diet. We've got a dietitian we pay about £3,500 a year to come out every 4 months to check our diets and check our marbling, and then adjust our diets accordingly. Not for you anyway. You're not big enough for it. But yes, cool. Right, guys, that's me done. I'm going to clean up. We'll get the Wagyu going. please don't be shy. Come up, keep eating. There is so much food. So I won't kill anything until the dead weight is around 20 kilos. Yeah, this